Major Ryan Tucker gripped the controls of the experimental spacecraft with sweaty hands. The ship was called the UES Horizon, and it was humanity's first attempt at faster-than-light travel. Ryan had been a Marine pilot for 15 years, but this mission scared him more than any combat he had seen. "Engine status?" Ryan asked his engineer, Sergeant Nicole Brooks. Nicole sat behind him, watching dozens of screens filled with numbers and graphs. "All systems green," Nicole replied. "The quantum drive is charged and ready. But Ryan, the math still does not make sense to me. How can we go faster than light?" Ryan looked out the front window at the stars. They were far from Earth now, near the edge of the solar system. If something went wrong, no one could help them. "The scientists say it will work. Something about bending space and time. I just fly the ship," Nicole laughed nervously. "Well, here goes nothing. Quantum drive activation in 10 seconds. Ryan felt his heart beating fast. He had flown fighter jets in 3 wars, but this was different. This was stepping into the unknown. 5 seconds, Nicole counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1, activating quantum drive. The ship shook violently. Lights flashed on and off. Ryan felt like someone was pulling his body in all directions at once. The stars outside the window stretched into long white lines. Then everything went quiet. "Nicole, are you okay?" Ryan asked. "I think so. But Ryan, look at the navigation computer." Ryan looked at the screen that showed their location. The numbers made no sense. According to the computer, they were 12.5 light years from Earth. They had traveled in 3 seconds what should have taken light 12.5 years. "That is impossible," Ryan whispered. "The test was supposed to move us 1 light minute, not 12 light years." Nicole checked and rechecked her instruments. "The readings are correct. We are in the Wolf 359 system. Ryan, we just broke every law of physics." Neither of them knew that they had just appeared right next to a secret Zephyrian monitoring station. The aliens had hidden their base near Wolf 359 to watch Earth from a safe distance. For 3,000 years, nothing had disturbed their quiet observation post. Commander Veltar was drinking his morning nutrient solution when alarms started, screaming throughout the station. Red lights flashed and computer voices shouted warnings in the Zephyrian language. "What is happening?" Veltar demanded, running to the control center. His assistant, a young Zephyrian named Kexvor, pointed at the main screen with a shaking finger. "Commander, a human ship just appeared 3,000 kilometers from our position. It came from nowhere. Our sensors detected no approach." Veltar stared at the screen. A small, crude-looking ship floated in space nearby. It had the markings of Earth's military, but that was impossible. Humans could barely reach their own moon. How could they travel 12 light years in seconds? "Are you certain it is human?" Veltar asked. "Positive, sir. The ship's design matches our database. It is definitely from Earth." Veltar felt a cold fear in his chest. He immediately activated the emergency communication system. A message traveled faster than light toward the Zephyrian homeworld. Within minutes, every important Zephyrian leader would know that humans had somehow developed interstellar travel. On Earth, Dr. Angela Foster was having the best day of her career. She led the team that designed the quantum drive, and she had just received word that the test was successful. But when she looked at the data more carefully, she became confused and excited at the same time. "Chris, come here and look at this," she called to her research partner, Dr. Chris Murphy. Chris walked over to Angela's computer. She was looking at readings from the Horizon's test flight. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "The quantum signature from Ryan's ship. Look at how clean it is. Our drive does not bend space-time like we thought it would. It does something completely different. Chris studied the data. This looks like quantum tunneling, but on a massive scale. The ship did not travel through space. It jumped through quantum space directly to its destination. Angela nodded excitedly. Exactly. We accidentally discovered a form of travel that should be impossible. According to everything we know about physics, matter cannot quantum tunnel across such large distances. But it worked, Chris said. The ship is at Wolf 359. That means our understanding of quantum mechanics is wrong, or incomplete. Neither scientist knew that their accidental discovery had just shattered everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about the universe. In the crystal chamber orbiting Kepler 442b, an emergency meeting was taking place. The greatest Zephyrian. Scientists had gathered to study the human ship's impossible journey. Floating screens showed mathematical equations and energy readings that made no sense. "How did they do it?" asked High Archon Zelmoth. His image appeared larger and brighter than usual, showing his anger and confusion. Zara Eth, the old scientist, studied the data with wide eyes. "High Archon, this is beyond our science. The humans used quantum tunneling on a macroscopic scale. Our best theories say this is impossible." "Then our theories are wrong," Zelmoth said coldly. "A species that we have watched for 3,000 years has just demonstrated technology that we do not understand. How is this possible?" Another scientist, Morden, spoke up. "High Archon, perhaps we underestimated human potential. Their brains work differently than ours. They make intuitive leaps that we cannot follow with logic." "Intuitive leaps?" Zelmoth's voice grew louder. "They just violated the fundamental laws of physics with an intuitive leap." The scientists had no answers. They had spent 3 millennia studying humanity, collecting data, and making predictions. All of their models said that humans should take at least 500 more years to achieve interstellar travel. None of their models accounted for this kind of breakthrough. Back on the UES horizon, Ryan and Nicole were trying to figure out how to get home. The quantum drive had used all of its power in the unexpected jump. They were stranded 12 light years from Earth with no way to call for help. "Can we recharge the drive?" Ryan asked. Nicole shook her head. "Not with our current power systems. We need about 10 times more energy than our reactor can produce." Ryan looked at the strange star outside their window. It was smaller and redder than the sun. "So we are stuck here?" "Maybe not," Nicole said, studying her instruments. "Ryan, I am reading something strange. There is an artificial structure about 3,000 kilometers away. It is giving off energy signatures." Ryan turned the ship toward the mysterious structure. As they got closer, they could see it was clearly not human. The station was made of some kind of crystal material and was much larger than anything humans had ever built in space. "Nicole, I think we just found proof that we are not alone in the universe." Unknown to them, they were looking at their first Zephyrian base. Inside that base, Commander Veltar was watching them approach with growing panic. The humans were not supposed to be here. They were not supposed to have this technology. And they were definitely not supposed to be studying Zephyrian construction, with their primitive but surprisingly effective sensors. For the first time in Zephyrian history, the Watchers had become the Watched. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted, and nobody understood how or why. The most disturbing part was that the humans seemed as surprised by their achievement as the Zephyrians were. This was not the result of a long scientific program. This was an accident that had revealed capabilities no one knew humans possessed. In the depths of space, Ancient systems that had been sleeping for 50,000 years began to stir. Genetic memories that had been buried in human DNA started to awaken. The children of the stars were coming home, and the galaxy would never be the same. President Helen Martinez stood at the window of the White House, looking up at the morning sky. 3 massive ships hung in the air above Washington, D.C., casting shadows over the entire city. The ships were enormous, each one the size of a small mountain. They had appeared at dawn over Washington, Moscow, and Beijing at exactly the same time. "Madam President," said her chief of staff, walking into the Oval Office, "the alien ships are broadcasting a message. They want to speak with our leaders." Helen took a deep breath. She had been president for 2 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Put me through to the United Nations. We need an emergency session." 2 hours later, Helen stood before the General Assembly in New York. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in stunned silence. Above the building, one of the alien ships waited. Its crystal hull reflected the sunlight like a giant prism. "Fellow leaders," Helen began, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "Today, humanity learns that we are not alone. These beings have come to us with a message. I believe we should hear what they have to say." A beam of light appeared in the center of the assembly hall. The light formed into the shape of a tall, blue-skinned being with glowing white eyes. The creature was beautiful in an alien way, but its presence filled the room with tension. "I am Diplomat Kexnari of the Zephyrian Council," the being said in perfect English. "We have watched your species for 3,000 of your years. We come now because you have developed capabilities that concern us." A murmur went through the assembly. The American representative raised his hand. "You have been watching us for 3,000 years?" "Yes. We watch all developing species. Most never advance beyond their home worlds. Those that do often destroy themselves or become threats to galactic peace." Helen felt anger rising in her chest. "So you see us as a threat?" Kexanari's glowing eyes focused on her. "Your species has developed faster than light travel centuries ahead of our predictions. This technology, combined with your aggressive nature, makes you dangerous." "Aggressive?" Helen stood up. "We have not attacked you. We did not even know you existed. Your history speaks for itself. Wars, conquest, environmental destruction. Now you have the power to spread this behavior across the galaxy." The Russian representative stood up. "What do you want from us?" Kexnari raised one long, thin hand. "You will cease all research into faster-than-light technology. You will accept guidance from the Galactic Confederation. You will remain on your world until you prove you can live in peace." The hall erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Helen banged her gavel repeatedly to restore order. "And if we refuse," Helen asked when the room was quiet again, "then we will take action to protect the galaxy from your expansion." Far from New York, Admiral Tony Shaw stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Tony had spent 30 years in the Navy, fighting in conflicts around the world. Now he commanded Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. "Admiral," said his tactical officer, Commander Kelly Barnes, "the alien ships are maintaining position exactly 50,000 kilometers above the major cities. They have not moved closer or farther away." Tony studied the readings on his screen. Something about the alien positions bothered him. "Kelly, why do you think they are staying so far away?" Kelly looked at her instruments. "Sir, if I had to guess, I would say they are being careful, These ships are huge, but they are keeping their distance like they are afraid of something. Afraid of what? We barely have weapons that can reach orbit. Maybe they do not know that, sir, or maybe there is something else they are worried about. On the other side of the world, Dr. Rachel Green worked frantically in her laboratory in London. Rachel was one of Earth's leading experts on exotic energy systems. When the alien ships appeared, the government had asked her to analyze their technology. "Pete, come look at this," Rachel called to her colleague, Dr. Pete Williams. Pete was younger than Rachel, but had brilliant insights into advanced physics. Pete looked at Rachel's computer screen. It showed energy readings from the alien ships. "What am I looking at?" "The power signatures from those ships." "Pete, they are using antimatter reactors, but the design is incredibly primitive." Pete frowned. "Primitive? Those ships are the size of cities. Size does not mean advanced technology. Look at the energy efficiency ratings. Their reactors waste 90% of their power output. We abandoned antimatter research 10 years ago because we found better alternatives." "Are you saying our technology is better than theirs?" Rachel nodded slowly. "In some ways, yes. Their ships are big and impressive, but they use brute force instead of elegance. It is like comparing a steam engine to an electric motor." Pete stared at the readings. "If that is true, then why are we afraid of them?" "Because they have had 3,000 years to build those steam engines. We have had 50 years to build our electric motors." Back in space, diplomat Kex Nari stood in the command center of his ship, speaking with Commander Veltar through a quantum communication link. "The humans have refused our ultimatum," Kex Nari reported. "Their leaders demand time to consider our offer." Veltar's image flickered with worry. "Diplomat, there is something you should know. The human ship that appeared near our monitoring station has been studying our technology. Their sensors are more sophisticated than we expected." "How sophisticated?" "They have penetrated our stealth systems. They can see through our cloaking technology." Kex Nari felt a chill run through his crystalline body. "That is impossible. Our stealth systems have hidden us from every species we have encountered." "Nevertheless, it is true. The humans are scanning our ships right now. They know exactly where we are and what we are doing. On Earth, Dr. Rachel Green was discovering exactly what Veltar feared. Her instruments could see through the alien cloaking systems as if they were made of glass. The alien technology was impressive but not mysterious. "Pete, I can map their entire ship structure," Rachel said excitedly. "Their stealth systems work by bending light around their hulls, but they leave quantum signatures that our sensors can detect." "Can you find their weak points?" Rachel smiled. "Already have. Their power distribution systems are centralized. If you hit the right spots, you could disable an entire ship with one targeted strike." Pete looked worried. "Rachel, should we be figuring out how to fight them? Maybe we should try to make peace." "Peace is good," Rachel agreed. "But peace works better when both sides respect each other's strength." High above Earth, Kex Nari was learning the same lesson. His ship's computer alerted him that human sensors were scanning his vessel. The scans were detailed and precise, mapping every system and structure. "How are they doing this?" Kex Nari demanded of his science officer. "Unknown, sir. Their scanning technology uses principles we do not understand. It appears to work on quantum levels that our shields cannot block." For the first time in his long life, Kex Nari felt fear. The Zephyrians had always been the superior force in any first contact situation. They had the bigger ships, the older civilization, and the advanced technology. But these humans were different. They could see through. Zephyrian advantages as if they did not exist. Contact the Galactic Confederation, Kexanari ordered. Tell them we need to escalate this situation immediately. Sir, escalation protocols require approval from the High Council. That could take days. Then we may not have days, Kexanari said quietly. These humans are not what we thought they were. On Earth, President Helen Martinez was coming to the same conclusion about the aliens. Intelligence reports from around the world painted a picture of visitors who were powerful but not all-powerful, advanced but not beyond human understanding. Admiral Shaw, Helen said over the secure communication link. Are we ready to defend ourselves if negotiations fail? Tony Shaw looked out at the stars where human ships were taking defensive positions. Madam President, we are as ready as we can be. But I have a feeling this situation is more complicated than anyone realizes. He was right. In the depths of space, ancient automatic systems were awakening. Systems that had been built by the true masters of the galaxy 50,000 years ago. Systems that recognized the genetic signatures of their creators' children. Humanity was not just another species stumbling into the galactic community. They were the inheritors of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known, and they were starting to remember who they really were. Captain Susan Lewis stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's newest warship. 3 days had passed since the alien ultimatum, and tensions were rising on both sides. The Zephyrian ships still hung motionless above Earth's major cities, waiting for humanity's final answer. Captain, said her navigation officer, Lieutenant Mark Chen, we have permission to test the new military quantum drive. Admiral Shaw wants to see if we can match the performance of the Horizon. Susan nodded. The Defiance was twice the size of the experimental ship that had accidentally reached Wolf 359. Its quantum drive was more powerful and, hopefully, more controllable. Take us to the coordinates, Mr. Chen. Let us show these aliens what humans can really do. The Defiance engaged its quantum drive. Unlike the violent shaking that Ryan and Nicole had experienced, this jump was smooth and precise. In less than a second, the ship appeared directly beside the largest Zephyrian vessel above Washington, D.C. Admiral Cordoon, commander of the Zephyrian. Flagship nearly fell from his chair when alarms started screaming throughout his ship. A human warship had appeared just 500 meters away, close enough that he could see individual humans through its viewports. How did they get so close? Cordoon demanded. Why did our sensors not detect their approach? His science officer, a nervous young Zephyrian named Pelmix, checked and rechecked his instruments. Admiral, they did not approach. They appeared. One moment there was empty space, the next moment their ship was here. That is impossible. No one can teleport a ship that large with such precision. Nevertheless, sir, that is what happened. And Admiral, they are scanning us again. Their sensors are mapping our entire ship. Cordoon felt panic rising in his chest. The human ship was smaller than his flagship, but it had demonstrated capabilities that made his vessel seem primitive, by comparison. Open a communication channel. I want to speak with their captain. On the bridge of the Defiance, Susan smiled when the alien communication request came through. Put them on screen, she ordered. Admiral Cordoon's image appeared on the main viewer. He was taller than the diplomat who had spoken to the United Nations, and his crystalline skin had a blue-green tint. His glowing eyes showed worry and confusion. Human captain, Cordoon said, trying to keep his voice steady. You have violated our security perimeter. Move your ship to a safe distance immediately. Susan laughed. Admiral, you are orbiting our planet without permission. I think we are the ones who should be demanding that you move to a safe distance. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Maybe not, Susan agreed. But our not-so-primitive sensors can tell us everything about your ships. For example, I know that your main reactor is operating at only 60% efficiency. I know that your primary weapons array has a power coupling weakness on Deck 7. And I know that your life support system depends on 3 central processors that are poorly shielded. Cordoon's eyes grew wider with each detail. How do you know these things? Because your technology is not as advanced as you want us to believe. You build big ships, but you do not build smart ships. Before Cordoon could respond, another alarm sounded throughout his flagship. This time, the alert came from the Galactic Confederation capital, 200 light-years away. In the great crystal city of Nexus Prime, the Confederation's Emergency Council was meeting. Representatives from 50 different species had gathered to discuss the human situation. But they were not discussing Earth as a new threat. They were discussing something far more disturbing. The chief historian, an ancient being known only as the Chronicler, stood before the assembled representatives. The Chronicler was older than any other known life form, having lived for over 10,000 years. His race had been among the first to achieve interstellar travel, and they kept the records of galactic history. "Fellow council members," the Chronicler said in a voice like distant thunder, "I have disturbing news about the species the Zephyrians call humans. I have been researching their genetic patterns and technological signatures. What I have found changes everything we thought we knew about galactic history." Emperor Colvex of the Altarian Empire leaned forward in his floating chair. The Altarians were one of the most powerful species in the Confederation, and Colvex was known for his quick mind and suspicious nature. "What have you discovered, Chronicler?" "The humans are not a new species. They are the children of the ancestor race." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Representatives spoke in dozens of languages, but all expressed the same disbelief. The ancestor race was a myth, a legend told to children. Everyone knew that no single species could have seeded the entire galaxy with life. "Impossible," declared General Vorthak of the Krillian military caste. "The ancestor race is a fairy tale. No species has ever possessed such power." The Chronicler activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed genetic charts, technological analyses, and historical records spanning 50,000 years. "The evidence is overwhelming," the Chronicler continued. "Human DNA contains genetic markers that match samples found in ruins across the galaxy. Their technology, while appearing primitive, uses principles that we have only recently begun to understand. Most importantly, their quantum drive technology is identical to systems described in the oldest ancestor texts." Emperor Colvex studied the data with growing amazement. "Are you saying that this species, which we thought was barely out of their stone age, is actually descended from the greatest civilization in galactic history?" "That is exactly what I am saying. The humans are not a new threat to be contained. They are our creators returning home." On Earth, Dr. Gary Thompson was making his own shocking discovery. Gary was a xenoarchaeologist, someone who studied the remains of ancient civilizations. When the alien ships appeared, he had been working on underwater ruins in the Pacific Ocean. "Beth, you need to see this," Gary called to his research partner, Dr. Beth Adams. They were working in a pressurized chamber on the ocean floor, studying structures that should not exist. Beth swam over to where Gary was working. Through the clear water, she could see carved stone walls covered in symbols. But these were not like any human writing system ever discovered. Gary, these symbols look familiar, Beth said. They are similar to the markings we saw on the alien ships. Gary nodded excitedly. That is what I thought too, but Beth, look at this. He pointed to a small device embedded in the wall. It was made of the same crystal material as the alien ships, but it was clearly much older. I have been running tests on this device. The carbon dating says it is over 55,000 years old. That predates human civilization by at least 40,000 years. Beth stared at the device. Are you saying that aliens visited Earth 50,000 years ago? I am saying that someone built this facility 50,000 years ago. And whoever they were, they used the same technology that our alien visitors use today. Gary touched the crystal device, and it suddenly came to life. Lights flickered inside the crystal, and holographic symbols appeared in the water around them. The symbols were beautiful and complex, clearly the product of an advanced civilization. Beth, this technology is still active after 50,000 years. What kind of civilization could build something that lasts that long? Neither of them knew that they were looking at a memory storage device left behind by humanity's own ancestors. The device contained records of Earth's original civilization, the one that had traveled the stars and planted life on countless worlds before mysteriously disappearing. Back in space, the chronicler was explaining this same history to the Galactic Confederation Council. The ancestor race did not disappear, the chronicler said. They returned to their homeworld and went into a kind of dormancy. Their genetic memory was passed down through generations, sleeping in their DNA until the time was right for awakening. But why? Asked Emperor Colvex. Why would such an advanced civilization abandon the stars? Because they were tired. They had spent hundreds of thousands of years spreading life across the galaxy. They had created dozens of intelligent species and guided their development. Eventually, they decided to rest and let their children grow up on their own. And now they are waking up? Yes. The human quantum drive technology is not an accident. It is genetic memory expressing itself through scientific discovery. The humans are unconsciously rebuilding the technology of their ancestors. General Vorthak made a growling sound. If this is true, then what does it mean for the rest of us? Are we all just experiments created by these humans? The chronicler was quiet for a long moment. In a sense, yes. Every major species in the galaxy exists because the ancestors left behind genetic gifts and technological clues. We are all their children, learning to walk in the universe they created for us. Then what happens now? Now we must decide whether to welcome our creators home or try to fight against beings who are genetically programmed to be our superiors. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Across the galaxy, ancient systems were awakening. Human ships were appearing in places that should be impossible to reach. And on Earth, people were beginning to remember dreams of distant stars and long-lost homes among the cosmos. The children of the galaxy were about to meet their parents. Nothing would ever be the same again. General Jack Harrison stepped off his ship and onto the crystal platform of Nexus Prime, the capital city of the Galactic Confederation. Jack had been a soldier for most of his adult life, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. He was the first human to officially visit the center of galactic civilization. Beside him walked Dr. Carol Jenkins, Earth's leading expert on quantum physics. Carol carried a small device that would demonstrate human technology to the assembled alien leaders. The device looked simple, but it contained power that could reshape the galaxy. "General Harrison," said Emperor Colvex, approaching them with a delegation of alien dignitaries, "welcome to Nexus Prime. We are honored to meet the representatives of the ancestor race. Jack felt uncomfortable with that title. Emperor Colvex, we are just humans from Earth. We are not sure what all this talk about ancestors means. The Emperor smiled, an expression that looked strange on his blue-scaled face. Perhaps Dr. Jenkins could demonstrate your quantum technology. It might help explain who you really are. Carol stepped forward and activated her device. A small sphere of pure energy appeared in the air above the platform. The sphere began to spin and change colors, showing patterns that were both beautiful and impossible. This is a basic quantum tunneling generator, Carol explained. It creates a controlled passage through quantum space. We can use it for travel, communication, or energy manipulation. The alien representatives watched in amazement. Several of them took readings with their own instruments, but their devices could not even detect how the sphere existed. "How does it work?" asked Zaraeth, the elderly Zephyrian scientist. Carol smiled. "Honestly, we are not entirely sure. The mathematics came to us naturally, like remembering something we had forgotten. Our scientists just knew how to build it." The chronicler stepped forward, his ancient eyes glowing with recognition. "You built it because your genetic memory remembers this technology. Your ancestors used quantum manipulation for everything: travel, construction, even art." Jack frowned. "You keep saying our ancestors. What exactly are you claiming?" The chronicler activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy 50,000 years ago. "Your species did not evolve on Earth, General. You came from the stars. Your people built a civilization that spanned the entire galaxy. You created most of the intelligent life that exists today, including the Zephyrians who have been watching you." "That is impossible," Jack said. "Our fossil records show that humans evolved on Earth." "Your bodies evolved on Earth," the chronicler agreed. "But your minds, your souls, your genetic potential came from the stars. When your ancestors grew tired of ruling the galaxy, they chose Earth as their retirement home. They altered their own genetics to live simpler lives, but they kept their essential nature locked in their DNA. Dr. Carol Jenkins was studying readings from her device. "General, this explains so much. The quantum field patterns we are generating match frequencies I have been dreaming about since I was a child. It is like my mind already knew this technology existed." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Commander Matt Rodriguez was preparing humanity's first deep space exploration mission. Matt had been chosen to command the UES Pioneer, a ship designed using the new quantum technology. His crew included scientists, diplomats, and military officers from every major nation on Earth. "Commander Rodriguez," said his science officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, "we are receiving strange signals from deep space. They appear to be automated systems activating across the galaxy." Matt looked at the display showing dozens of signals from distant stars. "What kind of systems?" "Unknown, sir. But the signals are using quantum frequencies that match our drive technology. It is as if our presence in space is waking something up." Matt did not know that he was seeing the activation of the Ancestor Monitoring Network. 50,000 years ago, when the ancestors returned to Earth, they had left automated systems throughout the galaxy. These systems were programmed to activate when the ancestors' descendants developed quantum technology and began exploring space again. On Nexus Prime, the formal ceremony was beginning. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy had gathered to witness humanity's official recognition as the returning ancestor race. Emperor Colvex stood before the assembled crowd. "Citizens of the galaxy," he announced, Today we witness the return of our creators. The species we call human has demonstrated that they possess the knowledge and power of the ancient ancestors. According to galactic law and tradition, we formally offer the inheritance acknowledgement. Jack Harrison felt overwhelmed by the responsibility being placed on his shoulders. Emperor, we appreciate the honor, but humans are not ready to rule the galaxy. We are still learning about ourselves. You do not need to rule, said the chronicler. Your ancestors never ruled through force. They guided through wisdom and protected through strength. That is all we ask of you now. Dr. Carol Jenkins activated her quantum device again. But this time something different happened. The energy sphere expanded and connected with similar devices throughout the city. Ancient ancestor technology that had been dormant for millennia suddenly came to life. Carol, what did you do? Jack asked as lights began appearing throughout the Crystal City. I think I just proved that we really are connected to this place, Carol replied in amazement. The quantum frequency from our device is activating ancestor technology throughout the city. The machines recognize us. On Earth, Dr. Jane Stewart was preparing for her new role as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Confederation. Jane had been a diplomat for 20 years, but she had never imagined representing her species to an entire galaxy. Ambassador Stewart, said President Helen Martinez over the video link. The world is watching. What message do you want to send to our galactic neighbors? Jane thought carefully before answering. Madam President, I want to tell them that humanity is ready to take responsibility for our heritage, but we want to do it as partners, not masters. We have spent 50,000 years learning to be human. Now we need to learn to be galactic citizens again. The ceremony on Nexus Prime reached its climax as representatives from every species formally acknowledged humanity's return. But the most important moment came when the Zephyrian delegation approached Jack Harrison. Commander Veltar, who had watched Earth for so many years, bowed deeply before the human general. General Harrison, on behalf of the Zephyrian people, I apologize for treating you as primitives. We did not recognize our own creators. Jack helped the alien commander stand up. Commander, you have nothing to apologize for. You did your job. You watched over us while we grew up. In a way, you were protecting us until we were ready to remember who we are. High Archon Zelmoth stepped forward. The Zephyrian Council formally dissolves our Earth observation protocols. We will no longer watch you from the shadows. Instead, we offer our services as your students and allies. Jack smiled. We would prefer friends and equals. We have all grown since our ancestors walked the galaxy. Humans are different now, and so are you. Let us build something new together. As the ceremony ended, Dr. Carol Jenkins made one final demonstration. She connected her quantum device to the ancient ancestor network that spanned the galaxy. Instantly, every dormant system left behind by the original civilization came online. Across hundreds of star systems, automated shipyards began construction of new vessels. Communication relays that had been silent for 50 millennia started transmitting again. Most importantly, the great libraries of ancestor knowledge became accessible to all galactic species. The knowledge network is active again, Carol announced to the assembled representatives. Every species in the galaxy now has access to ancestor science, philosophy, and history. We are sharing everything our predecessors knew. Emperor Kolvax was amazed. You are giving away the greatest treasure in galactic history? Knowledge belongs to everyone, Jack replied. Our ancestors understood that. They did not hoard their discoveries. They shared them so that life could flourish throughout the galaxy. Commander Matt Rodriguez, now exploring the outer edges of the galaxy, sent a message back to Earth. This is the Pioneer reporting. We have discovered dozens of planets with signs of ancient ancestor habitation. And Admiral, some of these worlds still have active populations. We are not the only descendants of the ancestors. There are others out here waiting to be reunited with their family. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not unique. The ancestors had left children on many worlds, and now those children were beginning to awaken as well. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. Dr. Jane Stewart addressed the Galactic Confederation for the first time as Earth's official ambassador. "Representatives of the galaxy," she said to the vast assembly, "humanity accepts the responsibility of our heritage, but we do not want to return to the old ways. Our ancestors built a magnificent civilization, but they grew tired and withdrew from the galaxy." She paused, looking at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. "We want to do better. We want to build a civilization where every species contributes, where knowledge is shared freely, and where no one grows tired because the burden is shared by all." 6 months after the great ceremony on Nexus Prime, the galaxy was changing faster than anyone could have imagined. Captain Emma Davis stood on the bridge of the UES Destiny, watching as her ship approached a world that had been hidden for 50,000 years. The planet was called Kepler 758c by Earth scientists, but its real name was Ethros, and it held secrets that would reshape everything humanity thought they knew about themselves. "Captain," said her navigation officer, Lieutenant Alex Turner, "we are receiving a signal from the planet's surface. It is in an ancient human language, but our computers can translate it." Emma nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The image that appeared showed a woman who looked completely human, except for her eyes. They glowed with a soft golden light, just like the eyes of the Zephyrians and other alien species. She wore simple white robes and stood in what appeared to be a garden filled with plants that looked familiar but somehow different. "Greetings, children of Earth," the woman said in a voice that sounded like music. "I am Sarah, guardian of Ethros. We have been waiting for you to remember who you are and find your way home to us." Emma felt a strange tingling in her mind, as if old memories were trying to surface. "This is Captain Emma Davis of the Earth. Vessel Destiny. Are you human?" Sarah smiled. "I am what humans become when they remember their full heritage. We are your cousins, Emma Davis. When the Great Departure happened 50,000 years ago, not all of our people chose to sleep on Earth. Some of us remained awake among the stars, keeping watch over the galaxy until you were ready to return." Lieutenant Alex Turner checked his instruments with shaking hands. "Captain, I am reading over 50 million life forms on that planet. All of them register as genetically human, but with modifications we have never seen before." Emma tried to process what she was hearing. "Sarah, you are saying that there are 50 million humans living on your world. Humans who never forgot their origins." "Not just on Ethros," Sarah replied. "There are 12 worlds like ours scattered across the galaxy. We are the Eternal Watch, the guardians who never slept. We have been preparing for this day when our sleeping siblings would awaken and join us again. On Earth, Dr. Ben Clark was experiencing the strangest day of his scientific career. Ben was a geneticist who had been studying the changes happening to humans since the awakening began. People all over Earth were developing new abilities, and their DNA was showing patterns that should not exist. Monica, come look at this. Ben called to his research partner, Dr. Monica Ross. They were working in a laboratory in Geneva, studying blood samples from volunteers who had reported unusual experiences. Monica walked over to Ben's computer screen. What am I looking at? DNA from a 12-year-old girl in Tokyo. Her parents brought her in because she started having dreams about alien worlds. Look at chromosome pair 23. Monica stared at the genetic code displayed on the screen. Ben, that is not human. DNA, those are gene sequences we have never seen before. Actually, we have seen them. They match samples from the ancient ruins Dr. Thompson found in the Pacific. Monica, this girl is growing new genes that connect her to the ancestor civilization. How is that possible? Ben pulled up more files on his computer. It is happening to children all over Earth. The genetic memory that the chronicler talked about is not just knowledge. It is active DNA that is being switched on by our contact with alien technology. Are you saying that human children are evolving? I am saying they are remembering how to evolve. Our ancestors had abilities that we lost when they chose to sleep. Now those abilities are coming back. In space, Captain Emma Davis was preparing to visit the surface of Ethros. The planet looked like Earth from orbit, but her sensors detected technology everywhere. Cities that looked like gardens, transportation systems that used no visible energy, and structures that seemed to grow rather than being built. Captain, said her science officer, Lieutenant Paul Kim, the atmospheric readings are fascinating. The air down there contains trace elements that should not exist naturally. It is as if the entire planet has been modified to support enhanced human life. Emma put on her dress uniform for the historic meeting. Paul, are you ready to meet our long-lost cousins? As ready as anyone can be for something impossible. The shuttle that took them to the surface was met by a group of humans who looked like they had stepped out of a dream. They were tall and graceful, with the same golden eyes as Sarah. Their skin had a slight luminescent quality, and they moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. Welcome to Ethros, Sarah said as Emma stepped off the shuttle. Come, let me show you what humanity becomes when it never forgets its destiny. They walked through a city that was unlike anything Emma had ever seen. Buildings grew from the ground, like trees, but they were clearly artificial structures. Gardens filled with impossible plants covered every surface, and everywhere, humans with golden eyes went about their daily lives using technology that seemed like magic. How many of you are there? Emma asked as they walked. On Ethros, 53 million. Across all 12 worlds, nearly 1 billion. We are the children who never forgot how to dream of stars. Lieutenant Paul Kim was taking readings with his tricorder. Sarah, my instruments show that you and your people are using some kind of energy field that I cannot identify. Sarah smiled. We learned to work with quantum energy the way your ancestors did. It is not technology in the way Earth understands it. It is harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. Can you teach us? We will teach your children. The adults of Earth carry too much of the sleeping pattern, but your young ones, their minds are still flexible enough to remember. As if summoned by her words, a group of children approached them. These children looked about 10 years old, with the same golden eyes as the adults. But when Emma looked at them, she felt a strange sense of recognition, as if she was looking at humanity's future. Captain Davis, one of the children said in perfect English, we have been waiting to meet our Earth cousins. We have so much to show you. Emma knelt down to the child's level. "What is your name?" "I am called Lightbringer because I was born during a solar storm, but you can call me Luke if that is easier." Emma laughed. "Luke is fine. Tell me, what do you want to show us?" Luke smiled and held out his hand. When Emma took it, her mind was suddenly filled with images of the galaxy as it really was. She saw worlds where humans lived in harmony with alien species. She saw ships that traveled through dimensions she could not name. She saw a future where Earth was just one part of a vast human civilization that spanned the entire universe. "This is what we are working toward," Luke said. "Not conquest, but completion. The galaxy has been incomplete since our ancestors chose to sleep. Now we can make it whole again." Back on Earth, the changes were accelerating. Children in every country were developing abilities that their parents could not understand. They could sense emotions from great distances. They could communicate without speaking. Some could even manipulate objects with their minds. Dr. Ben Clark was documenting these changes when his computer alerted him to an incoming message from Ethros. The message was from Sarah, and it was addressed to all Earth scientists studying the genetic awakening. "People of Earth," Sarah's message began, "your children are not becoming something alien. They are becoming what humans were always meant to be. The abilities you are seeing are your birthright, suppressed for 50,000 years, but never truly lost. We, the Eternal Watch, stand ready to guide this transition, but the choice must be yours. You can continue as you are, or you can embrace the full potential of your species. Either path is valid, but the children will choose for themselves when they are old enough. The galaxy awaits your decision. Your alien friends are eager to see what humanity becomes next. And we, your starborn siblings, are here to help you remember the dreams you forgot so long ago." Emma Davis stood in the garden on Ethros, watching human children play games that involved moving light with their thoughts. The sight filled her with wonder and a little fear. These children represented humanity's future, but it was a future that seemed almost too fantastic to believe. "Sarah," Emma said, "what happens to humans like me? The ones who cannot learn these new abilities?" Sarah put a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder. "You are the bridge, Emma. You carry the wisdom of sleeping humanity and the curiosity that led you back to the stars. Your role is to help both sides understand each other. And if Earth chooses not to change, then we will respect that choice. But the children will still grow into what they are meant to become. The awakening cannot be stopped, only guided." Emma looked up at the stars that were just becoming visible in Ethros's evening sky. Somewhere up there, her ship waited to take her back to Earth with news that would change everything. Humanity was not just awakening to its past. It was evolving toward a future that would make its ancestors proud. The question was whether Earth was ready for its children to become something greater than anyone had ever imagined. The news from Ethros spread across Earth like wildfire. Within days of Captain Emma Davis returning with her report, every major government was holding emergency meetings. The revelation that evolved humans had been living among the stars for 50,000 years changed everything humanity thought about its future. President Helen Martinez sat in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House, surrounded by her most trusted advisors. On the main screen was a live connection to the United Nations, where representatives from every nation were arguing about what to do next. "The question before us is simple," said Secretary of State Robert Johnson. "Do we accept help from these evolved humans, or do we try to control our own development?" General Frank Miller, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, leaned forward in his chair. Madam President, we need to consider the security implications. These Eternal Watch humans have abilities that make them more powerful than any military force on Earth. If they decide we are a threat, they could have destroyed us at any time in the last 50,000 years, interrupted Dr. Carol Jenkins, who had just returned from another diplomatic mission to Nexus Prime. If they wanted to harm us, they would not have waited until now. Helen rubbed her temples, feeling the weight of the decision on her shoulders. What about the children? The reports coming in from around the world are incredible. Kids who can move objects with their minds, who can speak to each other across continents without technology. Are we supposed to ignore that? In New York, 8-year-old Danny Foster was having the strangest day of his life. Danny lived in Queens with his parents, and until yesterday, he had been a normal kid who liked video games and baseball. But this morning, he had woken up with the ability to hear his teacher's thoughts from 3 blocks away. "Mom," Danny said, finding his mother Linda in the kitchen. "Mrs. Patterson is worried about her cat. She thinks it might be sick." Linda. Foster looked at her son with concern. "Danny, how do you know that? Mrs. Patterson lives across town." I can hear her thinking about it. "And Mom, there are other kids like me. I can sense them all over the city. We are all connected somehow." Linda sat down heavily in a chair. She had read the news reports about children developing strange abilities, but she had never imagined it would happen to her own son. "Danny, are you scared?" Danny thought about it for a moment. "No, Mom. It feels natural, like remembering something I used to know. And the voice in my head says everything will be okay." "What voice?" "The nice lady from the Star World. She says her name is Sarah, and she is here to help us understand what is happening." Halfway around the world, Dr. Yuki Tanaka was documenting similar cases in Tokyo. Yuki was a child psychologist who had been assigned to study the growing number of children exhibiting unusual abilities. Her latest patient was a 9-year-old girl named Hana, who claimed she could see the health of living things. "Hana," Yuki said gently, "can you tell me what you see when you look at me?" Hana tilted her head and stared at Yuki with intense concentration. "Your body is mostly healthy, Dr. Tanaka, but you have a small problem in your left lung. It is not dangerous yet, but you should see a doctor soon." Yuki felt a chill run down her spine. She had been having minor breathing problems lately, but she had attributed them to stress. "How can you see that, Hana?" "Everyone has colors around them that show their health. Most adults cannot see the colors anymore, but children can still remember how to look. Remember? Remember from when? From before we forgot who we were. The star people say that we used to be able to see many things that we cannot see now, but we are starting to remember. In space, Admiral Susan Lewis was dealing with a different kind of problem. Her fleet of 12 Earth ships was approaching the Tau Ceti system, where another hidden human world was supposed to be located. But when they arrived, they found something unexpected. "Admiral," said her communications officer, Lieutenant David Brown, "we are receiving a distress signal from the planet. It sounds like they are under attack." Susan studied the tactical display. The planet showed signs of a massive space battle. Debris from destroyed ships floated in orbit, and energy readings suggested that powerful weapons had been used recently. "Who would attack a hidden human world?" Susan asked her tactical officer, Commander Lisa Park. "Unknown, Admiral, but the debris pattern suggests the attackers used Zephyrian-style weapons. Could this be some kind of rebellion within the Galactic Confederation?" Before Susan could answer, a damaged ship appeared on their sensors. It was limping toward their position, clearly in distress. The ship's design was unlike anything in Earth's databases, but it was broadcasting human identification codes. "This is Commander Zara of the world Novaris," came a weak voice over the radio. "Earth ships, please respond. We need immediate assistance." Susan opened a channel. "Commander Zara, this is Admiral Lewis of the Earth Defense Fleet. What is your situation?" "Admiral, thank the ancestors you are here. Our world was attacked by a faction calling themselves the Purifiers. They claim that the awakening of sleeping humanity threatens the natural order of the galaxy." Susan felt ice in her veins. "Are there other attacks happening?" "Yes, Admiral. 3 of our worlds have been hit in the last week. The Purifiers are trying to stop the awakening by force. They believe that evolved humans should remain hidden, and that Earth humans should stay asleep." "Who are these Purifiers?" "A coalition of species that fear human potential. They are led by a group of rogue Zephyrians who believe the Galactic Confederation made a mistake in recognizing Earth's heritage." Back on Earth, the situation was becoming more complicated by the hour. Children with abilities were gathering in groups, seemingly drawn together by invisible forces. Parents were panicking, governments were arguing, and religious leaders were declaring everything from miracles to the end times. In Geneva, an emergency session of the World Health Organization was trying to understand the scope of the changes. Dr. Patricia White, the organization's director, addressed the assembled delegates. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. White began, "we are facing something unprecedented in human history. Children on every continent are developing abilities that we cannot explain through conventional science. Our preliminary studies suggest that these changes are genetic, permanent, and spreading." The Russian delegate raised his hand. "Dr. White, are these children still human?" "Genetically, yes. They are human, but human in a way that we have never seen before. Their DNA contains active sequences that were dormant in previous generations. It is as if evolution has suddenly accelerated." The Chinese delegate stood up. "What about the reports of children communicating with beings on other worlds? Are these hallucinations?" Dr. White looked uncomfortable. "Our telepathic monitoring equipment has confirmed that something is happening. The children are not hallucinating. They are genuinely receiving communications from the Eternal Watch worlds." In the hidden world of Ethros, Sarah stood before a Council of the Eternal Watch leaders. The recent attacks by the Purifiers had changed everything. What was supposed to be a peaceful awakening was turning into a war. "The Purifiers grow bolder," said Kyle, a tall man with silver hair and the same golden eyes as all evolved humans. "They have destroyed 3 of our worlds and killed millions of our people. They will not stop until they have eliminated every trace of the awakening." Sarah nodded gravely. "The sleeping humans on Earth are not ready for this kind of conflict. Their children are just beginning to develop their abilities. They cannot defend themselves against purifier technology." "Then we must defend them," said another council member, a woman named Lyra. "We have hidden for 50,000 years. Perhaps it is time to step into the light and fight for our sleeping siblings." Kale looked worried. "If we reveal our full capabilities, we risk destroying the very balance we have tried to maintain. The other galactic species will see us as a threat." "They already see us as a threat," Sarah replied. "The Purifiers have made that clear. The question is whether we fight as united humanity or watch our children be destroyed by those who fear our potential." The council was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Sarah spoke again. "I call for a vote. All in favor of full revelation and protection of Earth?" Every hand in the chamber rose. On Earth, Young Danny Foster was playing in his backyard when the voice in his head became stronger and clearer than ever before. "Danny," Sarah's voice said gently, "can you hear me clearly now?" "Yes, ma'am. You sound like you are standing right next to me. Danny, I need you to give a message to your parents and to all the adults on Earth. Can you do that for me?" "Sure, what do you want me to tell them?" "Tell them that the time for hiding is over. Tell them that their starborn family is coming home to protect them. And tell them that the children of Earth must choose whether to embrace their heritage or remain as they are. But whatever they choose, we will stand with them against those who would harm them." Danny nodded seriously. "I will tell them. But Miss Sarah, are we going to be okay?" Sarah's voice was warm and comforting. "Yes, Danny. You are going to be more than okay. You are going to be everything your ancestors dreamed you could become." As night fell over Earth, children all around the world delivered the same message to their parents. The great choice was coming, and humanity would have to decide not just what they wanted to become, but whether they were willing to fight for the rig.